What is America to the world today? What is it that we are trying to understand when we study America as a part of the world?
So, America in the modern world is primarily the culture that holds primacy, and its greatest role as the culture that holds primacy is as the world police power, which means that it polices the world but also does in the politics and culture of the other world to make sure that it keeps its primacy. One of the greatest examples of this is the Russia-Ukraine war, which was partially caused by America. And one of the most modern artifacts of American history is the War on Terror from 2001 to 21. And even though it is over, there are still knockback effects, such as the fact that Israel is now fighting Hamas and also Iran, and America now has to deal with some of the problems that it failed to stop in the past because it did lose the War on Terror.
Okay. So we've got the world police power, and we have specifically anti-terrorism. We also have, of course, the threat of Russia and that perceived threat, and in some cases, real threat of Russia, and the way that America is handling that. And give us also just maybe a little bit more of a survey of the crucial topics these days. In other words, what else is out there on the geopolitical scene, if you will? What else is America all concerned with and trying to deal with?
I think the other major problem is that China is threatening to invade Taiwan, and that's definitely something that Donald Trump is probably going to try and stop. And so that's another one of the major conflicts that America kind of has on its hands as the world police power in the modern world.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think those would be the top three: the Russia-Ukraine scenario, the Israel and Iran slash Hamas Islamist kind of axis, and then the China-Taiwan issue. Although there are others, right? We've got Korea. That's been going on now for well over 70 years, and there are other smaller issues for sure. And so the United States is the world police power. Okay, was that always the case? No, clearly not. And so, and Americans, what do Americans think of this? What is the current state of the culture when it comes to this issue of policing the world?
I think that they are a little bit tired of it, especially because they did have more drive in the past to be policing the world. Like, they had a common enemy in a sense. Like, at first it was communism, and then it was Islamism, and though Islamism is still around, the threats feel more minor, and Americans generally, I think, are tired of this whole policing the world business.
Yes, I think so. And Donald Trump's America First policy, if you will, seems to resonate with them in that regard, which generally means less involvement. Although we've seen Donald Trump bombard Yemen, so he's not exactly pulling back in some regards. And there seems to be a mounting pressure on Iran. And so we'll have to see how that unfolds. So, yeah, I think Donald Trump is perhaps adjusting. And there were no wars during Donald Trump's first administration. But I think now he's got a little bit of a different take on what needs to happen. So, yeah, but as you say, I agree. Americans are pretty tired of it. And that's a lot of what the America First message is about. It's about not being the world police power, including possibly withdrawing from what is America's major security commitment?
I guess the fact that it's the leader of NATO, and I guess it's policing over all of Europe essentially, and is also has been trying to keep pushing and getting more countries to join in it, which is what triggered the Russia-Ukraine war, because Russia didn't want Ukraine to join NATO because it felt like that would be basically Ukraine being separated forever from it.
Yeah, okay, good. So, yeah, the NATO commitment has been the longest lasting and certainly the essential one, which defines America emerging as the world police power. So, we're going to come to that. So, like we said, America has not always been the world police power. So, now what we're going to do is, of course, dive into the past and take a look at what America once was and try to understand how it became what it is.